Hello everyone and welcome to Blue Goblin's comic book blog for the week of October 22nd, 2008. I'm going to be reviewing 6 books that came out and they're all Marvel, so let's get started, shall we? Let's get started with Secret Invasion number 7. For all the hype that this book got, it delivered. Unlike Amazing Spider-Man 573 with New Ways to Die Part 6, which didn't deliver, this one delivered. Very nicely done. Big 20-something page fight scene between the superheroes and the Skrulls. Some very nice action, back and forth. Just incredibly done. I love Linnell Yu's artwork. Brian Michael Bendis' writing is very nicely done. And if I had to sum up the end of this issue in one word, it would be Wasp. Read this issue and you'll see what I mean. This is a must-have. Please add it to your collection, as I'm sure you will. Now let's talk about, oh, it pains me to do this, but Amazing Spider-Man number 574. Mark Guggenheim, you're giving me a headache when you and the Spidey Brain Trust put out books like this. A story about Flash Thompson. Are you kidding me? What the hell do we want to know about Flash Thompson? He doesn't matter to me. I'm sure he doesn't matter to a lot of fans. Now, I do respect what the brave men and women are doing in Iraq. I do respect that, without question. But this is supposed to be Amazing Spider-Man, not Amazing Flash Thompson. This was crap. This was just as bad as the Brand New Day Extra one-shot we got. I don't give a damn about Flash Thompson. I'm sorry. It's crap. Don't pick it up. Speaking of crap and speaking of Spider-Man, let's talk about Secret Invasion Amazing Spider-Man number 3. Craig, my man, you at Grandland, you were right. This book was bad, but it wasn't as bad as Issue 2 was. Issue 2 was so bad, it's at the point where I don't want to read it anymore. But this issue was so bad, it was laughably bad. It makes me laugh every time I read it because it's so terribly done. And the scene, you were right about the scene with Dexter Bennett and the Sinister Six Super Skrull. Dexter Bennett's getting in his face. He's going, "You don't do this, young man. You know it's not right. What are you doing? What are you thinking?" And crap like that. And the Super Skrull's like, Brian Reed, why? Why are you writing crap like that? It's a Super Skrull, for God's sakes. It would have bit Dexter Bennett's head off. I mean, we got Super Skrulls fighting guys like Iron Man, guys like Thor, guys like Hulk, guys like Spider-Man, guys like Venom, guys like Wolverine. And the best you can do in this issue is have a Super Skrull confront Dexter Bennett? Just terrible. And, there was a Brand New Day cast member death in this issue. It's Joe Robertson's car. Yeah, I said that. And a spoiler at the end of this issue where for those of you who thought Sarah Arrett was actually Jackpot, you're in for a disappointment. The ending of this issue sees Jackpot in the tub while somebody's trying to call her. Her answering machine goes off and it says, "Hello, Jackpot, it's Sarah, pick up, I know you're there. Hello, pick up." So, that's a spoiler. This wasn't very good, and honestly, I regret picking it up. Now let's talk about how Spider-Man books should be done, shall we? Let's talk about Ultimate Spider-Man number 127, featuring the return of Gwen Stacy, who is Carnage in this Spider-Man book. Very nicely done. The beginning of this book shows a flashback scene to how Gwen Stacy escaped captivity. Turns out she escaped while Norman Osborn was escaping captivity back in the Death of a Goblin miniseries a few issues back. And I was like, okay, at least it explained how Gwen Stacy came back. Very nicely done. I love the storyline. There's a scene where Peter and Mary Jane are making out on campus, and somebody walks up, and it's Eddie Brock saying, "Peter, I lost my suit. S.H.I.E.L.D. has it. Now you're going to help me get it back, or I'm going to expose your secrets to everybody I know, to everybody in the world." Perfectly done, as if Peter Parker's life wasn't bad enough in Ultimate Spider-Man. Very nicely done. Peter decides he's going to go out and look for help. He's going to try to find the Fantastic Four. Can't find them. The security's too tight. See if he can find the Ultimates. The Ultimates take off for a mission just as he's leaving, and just as he's getting there. And Peter decides, you know what, screw this. I'm going to do this my own way. I'm going to do it by myself. very nicely done, very nicely written. Brian Michael Bendis is hitting it out of the ballpark yet again. And I got to tell you, the last page, that picture, I love that picture so much. I want it hanging on my wall. That's just awesome. I love it. This is the Spider-Man book you should pick up this week. Do not bother with Amazing Spider-Man, and do not bother with Secret Invasion of Amazing Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man you need to pick up. Very nicely done. Now, as I'm sure Lord Nightmare here on YouTube has been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for me to review a She-Hulk book. Lord Nightmare, my friend, here you go. Let's talk about She-Hulk number 34. Secret Invasion tie-ins are done, and unfortunately, that's hurt this book a little bit. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't like the artwork in this version of She-Hulk. Looks a little too girly for me. But although I've always respected Peter David's writing, I talked with Craig at Grandland, and he recommended that I check out back issues of She-Hulk with Dan Slott's writing. And you know what? He was right. Dan Slott's writing is much better, is much more well done than Peter David's She-Hulk. I've always respected Peter David's writing, especially what he's doing with X Factor right now, but this was just an average read. I'm sorry, nothing at all really, hit me to say, hey, I gotta get this book. I gotta read this book over and over and over again. Nothing in here happened that made me want to do that. The only thing that captured my attention and made me actually kind of laugh a little bit was when the Lady Liberators met Jacinda, who is She-Hulk's partner in bounty hunting businesses. So they meet her disguised as She-Are, and they say, how did you meet She-Hulk? And she says, oh, intergalactic lesbian dating service. And She-Hulk's like, oh, don't listen to that. She's just kidding. She's just a big kidder. And Thundra is like, well, so you're not a... And she says, no. And Thundra's like, what a pity. So not only is Thundra possibly a lesbian, but she might have a crush on She-Hulk. Not exactly gripping material, but this was just average. If you're a huge fan of She-Hulk, then go ahead and pick it up. Otherwise, don't bother. You won't be missing much. Now, finally, let's talk about one of the best books of the week. Let's talk about Captain America. Ed Brubaker, you hit another one out of the ballpark again, my friend. This was incredible. Bucky is finally getting his status quo as Captain America. It's time for Steve Rogers' Death Saga to be done and over with in the past where it belongs. I love this book. I love where it's going. Batroc the Leaper is the villain in this book. A nice fight between him and Bucky. Bucky still has some conflict and some regrets about what he did as Winter Soldier, and honestly, who could blame him? Black Widow tells him, hey, it's not your fault. It's not any more your fault than Sharon Carter was to blame for what happened to Steve. But you can understand where Bucky's coming from when he regrets what he did when he was Winter Soldier. And speaking of Winter Soldier, Batroc the Leaper takes some pictures during the fight that he had with Bucky, and he shows them to this guy that he met at a restaurant, and he says, this is the guy that's Captain America now. And he says, that guy? This guy? That's Winter Soldier. Oh my God, the leader's going to be so happy to see this. So apparently somebody's looking for Winter Soldier, and unfortunately they found him carrying the shield. This is going to be really nicely done. I can't wait to see where they're going with this series. This is a highly recommended issue. Go ahead and pick this up. If you want to jump into Captain America, now's the time, with Bucky's status quo starting. Well, that's it for right now for part 1, so until part 2, later.